Hello and welcome everyone. In today's episode, let's learn about the fried liver attack. Fried liver attack is statistically the most guaranteed way of winning a game with the white pieces. It is also the most common opening trap played amongst the beginners to intermediate level. So let's have a look at it. It starts with e4 and black responds symmetrically with playing his pawn to e5. We play our knight to f3 attacking the e5 pawn, knight c6 defends it. We play our bishop to c4 trying to attack the weak f7 pawn. Here black has two choices. Black can either go with his knight to f6 or can play his bishop to c5. In our last few videos, we have seen what happens after the move bishop c5. White can play his pawn to c3 and march up an attack in the center by pushing his pawn to d4. If in case you have missed those videos, then the link is in the description box. After the move knight f6, white is ready to attack on the f7 square by playing his knight to g5. Now knight g5 attacks the f7 square twice with the knight as well as with the bishop. A most common idea here, and many of the players play that, is pawn to d5, trying to block the attack from the bishop. Here also few players might try to capture the pawn on the e4 square or play bishop c5. That is also a line, but it is complicated and black players should know a thorough theory behind this. So most common played move is pawn to d5, blocking the attack from the bishop on the f7 square. Here we can capture it and give an attack to his knight. The right way here is to play the knight to a5 and then white can play bishop b5, give a check, and both the players are doing fine. But a most common move played here, many of the players would capture the pawn on the d5 square with their knight. But here you can start up the attack by capturing on the f7 square with your knight. Also, this knight forks the queen as well as the rook. The king is kind of forced to capture the knight. Once the king captures the knight, now you can bring your other pieces in the game. Play your queen to f3, attack the king as well as the knight. If black plays a normal move like goes back with his king on the e8 square, then you can just capture the knight back, you are a pawn up. Also, your two pieces are targeting the c6 square. If he does a blunder and plays his knight to d4, attacking your queen and also thinking that he can fork you by capturing on the c2 square, well, it's a checkmate in one move. You can just play your queen to f7 and it's a checkmate. But what if he is not going back with his king on the e8 square? Instead, he is going up on the board, playing bold and playing his king to e6, protecting the knight with the king as well as with the queen. Then we can bring some more pieces in the game. Play a knight to c3, attack the knight. Now here there are multiple ways how black can respond. Can go with knight e7 or knight b4. Knight b4 is, by the way, the best move here. Also, some players try for some huge unusual moves like knight to d4, thinking attacking the queen as well as the c2 square again. But that is again a mistake because you can simply win this knight, not only the knight, in few moves it would be a checkmate. Queen f7, the king goes back on the d6 square, and now this is a checkmate. Okay, now let's see what happens when he plays his knight to e7. Now why is not knight e7 correct and knight b4 correct? Because knight e7 blocks the way of this bishop as well as this queen. This does protect the knight, but it stops the movement of the other pieces. While when you play a knight to b4, it not only protects the knight, but it also gives an attack to the c2 pawn, trying to fork on the rook and the king. Here, because it would be a fork on the next move, the king simply castles. Like as white, you can simply castle. Here, he cannot capture on this c2 square because then his knight would be lost. And that wouldn't be a forcing move. For him, it won't be a forcing move as king has already moved. So, he'll have to do something about it. Also, as white, the next idea is to push the pawn on the h3 square. If he defends his knight on d5 by pushing his pawn to c6, then we can bring some more pieces in the attack. Just open up the file in front of the king. The king is in the center and we have to take advantage of it by opening up the files. So play your pawn to d4. If he would capture your pawn on the d4 square, then he is gone. After rook e1, it would be a brutal attack on the black king. But what if he is getting greedy and capture the free pawn on c2 square, trying to attack your rook on e1? Then we capture the pawn on e5. If he captures the rook, Go with your rook to d1. Attack the knight further. Now this is also pinned, this is also pinned, and there are 4 attacks on the knight. Black can't do much over here. But if he comes back with his knight on the c2 square, well, then we are going to capture his knight, trying for a discovered check. If he captures, you capture it back, give a check. If the king goes back over here, then it's a checkmate. And again, if he tries to come over here, it is still a checkmate. I hope you enjoyed this pride lever attack. Now, whenever your opponent would play his move knight to f6 in the Italian game, you know you have to go for knight to g5. For more such amazing tricks and traps, stay tuned with us. Till the time, please hit the like button and subscribe to our channel. I'll see you in the next video. Thank you.